Hi, I'm Sandra Parker. How do we know when growth is calling? Is there a way to be able to actually notice when we're on the cusp of an opportunity for growth? Well, I think there is, and I'd like to share it with you. What I do is help people embrace the feeling of vulnerability that is, at least in my view, it's at the heart of what it means to be human, so that they can matter and so that they can grow. Vulnerability is something that we're naturally not wanting to feel. It's very uncomfortable. It evokes feelings in the body that are uncomfortable, and we're wired to move away from that experience. And yet it's in exactly that place that every opportunity for growth emerges. And so this is a concept that's very easy to understand. It's very simple, very straightforward, and yet because of a lot of very good reasons, it's very, very difficult to actually do, to be with ourselves in our vulnerability so that we can grow. What do I mean about growth? What is growth? What the heck is growth? What am I talking about? Aren't you grown up already? Okay, so time passes, you get taller, you're a grown-up, you're an adult. But what is growth? Growth is an innate, built-in process. We are wired to grow. Growth is the natural unfolding of who we're meant to be, okay? In our DNA, in our deep psychological structures, possibly in our soul, we have a calling to become everything we're meant to be. And that process is already perfect. You are already you. And then some stuff happens along the way that gets in the way of that process fully unfolding. And that's where I come in, is to help people undo or get those obstacles out of the way. But you think about a seed. A seed has everything it needs. An acorn has all that it needs in it to become an oak tree. You just put it in the ground, you give it good soil, water, sun, and time, and what it is meant to be emerges. All right? As long as you keep, concrete off of the earth and other obstacles out of the way, you give something the right environment and it becomes what it's supposed to be. So growth isn't changing you. Growth isn't making you something else. Growth isn't adding anything to you. Growth is just allowing, okay? But forgive me for saying just, because it's not something small. It's not just. It's actually, growth is something that is so deep and sacred and often derailed because of developmental experiences in childhood, because of forces around us, and because of just how vulnerable it is to emerge. We don't always end up showing up in the fullness of who we are. And that's where I come in, is to help people release themselves from obstacles to being fully here. What other things do I want to say about growth? I want to say some things about growth. Really important thing about growth. Growth is the absolute opposite of survival. Okay? The conditions that allow us to grow and the physiology of growth is the absolute opposite of what it takes to survive. All right? Survival is hunkering down, constricting, holding, defending. Okay? Growth is opening, risking, stretching, leaning forward. All right? And between those two postures, you can see which one is more vulnerable right there. And the deal is, survival trumps growth, all right? Mother Nature's not stupid. I mean, there's no point in stretching into all I can be if there's a saber-toothed tiger nipping at my heels, right? One or the other, guess what we choose? It's survival trumps growth. So we need to be aware of that. If we're hungry for growth and we're hungry for becoming all that we can be, we need to be safe. We need to not just be safe, but really importantly, we need to feel safe. Otherwise, unconscious mechanisms inside of us are going to kick in, and they're going to put growth on a back burner, and they're going to hunker me down, tighten me, draw me in, make me small, and stop whatever those organic processes are of emergence from happening. Okay? There's another thing I want to say about growth, and that is that it's not the same as learning, okay? And we often get those confused. We kind of think they're the same thing. It's so different. Learning is taking in something new. So learning is adding something. Learning is cognitive. Learning is understanding something, okay? And I'm wobbling my head because it's all up here, okay? And we hope that we'll grow as a result of learning things, but that's a whole next thing, because growth is experiential. Growth is biological. Growth is something that emerges out of having an experience, actually experiencing something and reflecting on it. So in order to grow, we need to have experiences, and in particular, certain experiences, all right? And by that I mean experiences that evoke emotion. And we need a process of reflection. We need to have some way of holding ourselves in that experience, looking back at ourselves in order to integrate that experience in some way. So we need to have experiences, and we need the time to digest them. And that's very different from learning, because learning is instantaneous. You expose me to the new information, I've got it. Okay? And that's one of the problems actually with self-help literature, is that you read the thing, it makes sense, I've got it, off I go. And then there's this gap between being able to sort of understand it and being able to actually use it, because I need to actually have something shift inside of me. And that something is an emotional experience that I need to be able to feel and then reflect on in order to anchor that and then emerge and grow.